Welcome to Auto Mundial, the weekly car news and review show. This time we're celebrating 20 years of the original hyper hatchback, the Volkswagen Golf R.
The new Kia Telluride sets a new class standard, and the 2023 Range Rover Sport squares up against the new Audi Q8.
Plus the new Mercedes SL, available with either 4 or 8 cylinders. Is it a genuine rival for the likes of Jaguar and Porsche? We'll find out later on, but up first, the news.
Production of the Ineos Grenadier is finally underway after months of delays caused by supply chain restraints. The Land Rover Defender-inspired off-roader is being made in the old Mercedes factory in Hambach, France, with the first customer deliveries scheduled for this December. So far, Ineos has created a network of more than 200 sales and service facilities around the world ready for full-scale production. Prices start from £49,000 for the entry-level utility wagon, rising to £52,000 for the 5-seater station wagon.
It's getting to the end of the year, and that means it is update time for American market cars. While we don't get these annual updates too frequently in Europe, over in the States, most models are updated every year in a bid to stay competitive and keep the order books full. These minor facelifts usually just consist of a few extra features and maybe some new colour options. But Kia has done slightly more than that with this, the 2023 Telluride. Since its introduction in 2020, the Telluride has always been a good-looking car, punching well above its weight in both desirability and ability. And now, for the new model year, Kia has decided to give the car an aesthetic makeover. With a few bits of nip and tuck, the 2023 Telluride looks better than ever, with a new grille, restyled headlights and a new front bumper with trim to match the contemporary matte finish. The biggest changes, though, are on the inside. There's no doubt the Telluride is a nice car, but with a starting price of $37,000, it's hard not to be seriously impressed with the cabin. Leather and high-quality wood finishes in a car this big are usually reserved for Cadillacs or BMWs, but they are here in abundance. The party piece is the new screen panel atop the dash. The enormous panel consists of two 12.3-inch screens, one digital instrument panel and an infotainment system, another feature usually reserved for more traditionally premium manufacturers. Navigation is now standard across the range, as is a Wi-Fi hotspot. Two new trim levels also join the lineup, but it's the range-topping SX that still impresses the most, delivering a true luxury car experience for a reasonable $52,000. All versions use the same 291 horsepower naturally aspirated V6 with an 8-speed auto box. Performance isn't electric, but it is on par with its rivals. Power is sent to the front wheels only, but for an extra $2,000 or so, all trims are available with 4-wheel drive. Self-levelling rear suspension's available, handy if you're towing, and its 8.4 inches of ground clearance is useful off-road.
As a relative newcomer to the class, though, it needs to beat an SUV stalwart, the Volkswagen Atlas. Like the Telluride, the Atlas has just received its 2023 updates, although in this case they're rather more subtle. The base Model S trim has been dropped, and there are a few new bits of equipment like a digital instrument panel for mid-range cars and up. The Atlas is absolutely massive by European standards. It's a full 9 inches longer than a Touareg, but it costs even less than the Kia, with a starting price of under $36,000. The Atlas is getting on a bit now, but last year's upgrades really lifted the cabin. Still, it doesn't feel as premium or as up-to-date as the Telluride, although it is fantastically practical with loads of passenger and cargo space throughout. Much of the styling, both inside and out, feels a bit last gen, and with cars like the new Telluride arriving, we're not sure how much longer the existing Atlas has left before VW replaces it or kills it altogether.
Like many of the Kias we see here in Europe, the Telluride represents great value. With its likeable styling and posh cabin, the 2023 Telluride is at the top of its class.
Ever since its introduction in 2005, the Range Rover Sport has been a mainstay in the mid-size premium SUV class. A symbol of success, the British take on a German-dominated class has always attracted a younger class of buyer than the traditional full-size Range Rover. Now in its third iteration, JLR's latest offering will have a lot to live up to after a particularly successful previous generation. In that essence, the 2023 Range Rover Sport's design is mostly a case of if it isn't broken, don't fix it, as the new car shares many styling cues with its predecessor. The profile silhouette of the car follows a near-identical shape to the outgoing model, and although redesigned to adapt to a more modern market, features such as the lights and grille are very recognisable as Range Rover. Most design elements have shrunk in size, making for a sleeker look as part of Land Rover's new reductionist design philosophy. It's clean, uncluttered, almost like a concept car. On the inside, it's the same story, with an elegant look bringing the Range Rover Sport into the new age of motoring, with large touchscreens replacing many of the physical buttons. The grandiose feel carries on throughout the cabin, with optional massage seats, with ventilation and endless adjustability. Powering the aforementioned 13.1-inch screen sat proudly on the dashboard is Jaguar Land Rover's Pivi Pro infotainment system, coming as standard with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto and Amazon Alexa. Naturally, there are plenty of engine options and trim levels to choose from. The entry-level SE models makes do with the 3-litre turbocharged inline-6 engine coupled to a 48-volt hybrid system, putting out 355 horsepower. That figure is pumped up to 395 in the sportier SE dynamic spec. The same 6-cylinder engine is coupled to an electric motor to make the P440e plug-in hybrid model, while the lineup is topped by the fiery P530 First Edition. The only current option running the twin-turbocharged 4.4-litre V8. With an 8-speed automatic box and 4-wheel drive, the V8's 523 horsepower will send it to 60 miles per hour in under 4.5 seconds. In 2024, the list will supposedly gain a 5th option, an electric powertrain ditching the internal combustion unit altogether. As one would expect from a heavy SUV with large capacity engines, the Range Rover Sport is far from the most fuel-efficient vehicle on the market, hitting a claimed 25 miles per gallon in V8 guise. Thankfully, electrified options will improve that, as well as decrease your road tax bill. Following in the previous Range Rover Sport's opulent footsteps, the new model starts at the considerable price of a smidge over £80,000. Although it remains firmly in its place in the Range Rover lineup, That figure makes it a lot more expensive than the majority of its rivals in its class.
Up against the keenly priced Audi Q8, the Range Rover seems far from a bargain. The Audi starts at around 10 grand less, and for that you get an awful lot of car. It's a big old unit with a 3-litre V6 married to modern tech. Audi's infotainment is up there with the very best, but next to the ultra-stylish Range Rover, the Q8 does look a little plain. What it lacks in style, though, it makes up for in practicality. Despite its coupe shape, the Q8 has a truly enormous boot, something that'll be important to many SUV buyers.
One thing the Audi doesn't have, though, is the coveted Range Rover name. As we've seen from the success of the Evoque and the Velar, it's a badge that sells, and with its exquisite styling and great range of engines, not to mention its genuinely impressive off-road ability, this new sport looks set to be as popular as ever.
After the break, Volkswagen's new special edition Golf R.
Coming up, Volkswagen's new fastest car, but first...
There's no question that the Mercedes SL is one of the world's great motoring icons. In production in some form or another since the 1950s, it's been a favourite of movie stars and the jet set, and the new one looks set to continue where its predecessor left off. Officially known as the Mercedes-AMG SL, the new SL looks set to be the sportiest iteration yet, thanks to some input from Hatchback. Both Mercedes and AMG, though, are keen to point out that this is still a luxurious Grand Tourer, just one that happens to have been fettled to produce 577 brake horsepower in top-spec SL63 trim. 0 to 62 miles per hour is dealt with in just 3.6 seconds with a top speed of 195. Of course, this isn't the only option, but from launch, all models are AMG products. The lineup kicks off with this, the SL43. Using the smallest engine in Hatchback's arsenal, a little 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, more commonly found in the AMG A-Class, sits under the long bonnet in place of the 63's V8. This time it's producing a comfortable 362 bhp, but is boosted up to 376 for short periods thanks to a 48-volt hybrid system. It is, however, significantly down on power versus the 55 and 63 models. The 43, though, does have its advantages. Unlike the more powerful cars, the 43 sends power only to the rear wheels. Ditching the 4MATIC all-wheel drive system means it saves weight and improves weight distribution, although it still isn't exactly a featherweight at over 1,800 kilos. The mid-range car of the 3 versions available is the SL55. It uses the same 4-litre V8 as the 63, this time producing a slightly less hectic 469 brake horsepower. Despite having over 100 fewer ponies to play with, it'll still reach 62 from rest in under 4 seconds and tops out at 183. Both versions use Mercedes' 4MATIC all-wheel drive system, a first for the SL, but with the rivals like the Jaguar F-Type and Porsche 911 both offering it, it comes as no great surprise. The styling has clearly been influenced by the outgoing AMG GT, but to our eye that is certainly no bad thing. The SL looks as elegant as ever with a Pan America grille and slim, sharp headlights. Fold back the fabric roof and you reveal the opulent 2+2 cabin. This is the first time the SL has had a second pair of seats since the 1990s, but the back row is virtually useless for anything but luggage. Up front you get some body-hugging sports seats and an enormous infotainment system with all the latest tech from the new S-Class. We're expecting a hardtop Grand Tourer from Mercedes next year, but until then the SL looks like a great choice for some top-down Grand Touring.
By the start of the new millennium, the reputation of the once revered Golf GTI was at an all-time low. The fourth generation car was underpowered and heavier than before, leaving hot hatch enthusiasts to look elsewhere. Volkswagen realised that something needed to be done if it wanted to remain the go-to manufacturer for fast, everyday cars, and in 2002 they released this, the Golf R32. Originally intended to satisfy a few hardcore golf fanatics in Germany, VW was surprised when the orders started flooding in, and before long, the range-topping R32 was on sale around the world. With 238 brake horsepower from the thundering 3.2-litre engine, the Mark IV R32 has since gained legendary status, spawning the Mark V R32 that followed, and R versions of every Golf since, following the same recipe, albeit without the heavy but characterful VR6 under the bonnet. The Mark VI Golf R debuted in 2009 with a turbocharged 2-litre engine producing 266 brake horsepower and capable of 0 to 62 in 5.5 seconds. But it was 2013's Mark VII that perfected the formula. With more than 300 horsepower on tap, the SG Mark VIIs can hit 62 from rest in under 5 seconds, while maintaining everything that makes a Golf a great, everyday family hatchback. In 2022, the Mark VIII Golf R joined the dynasty. Power is now up to 316 brake horsepower, while the 0 to 62 time is down to just 4.7 seconds. The engine remains largely unchanged from the old car, but with stiffer adaptive dampers, a new progressive power steering system, bigger brakes, wider tyres and a lower ride height, the current Golf R is well and truly into hyper-hatch territory, taking on the likes of the Mercedes A45 and Audi S3. "20 years of fast all-wheel drive Golfs is quite the milestone for VW, and to celebrate, they have built this, the new Golf R 20 Years Edition. Marking it out from a standard car are some new anniversary badges and puddle lamps, and some optional blue accents on the wheels. The interior is similarly restrained with just some extra carbon fibre and more blue bits, reminding you that you are in a special Golf R. However, this is more than just a trim pack. The 20 Years Edition boasts an extra 13 bhp over the standard car and new mapping for the engine and gearbox for more immediate response and punchier gear shifts. 0 to 62 has dropped to 4.6 seconds, making the most powerful Golf ever built the quickest VW you can currently buy. It's so quick, in fact, that the Golf R 20 Years just did a Nürburgring lap time of 7 minutes and 47 seconds, 4 seconds faster than the standard model.
A key to this extra performance is the recalibrated turbo, which maintains boost pressure for longer and reduces lag. A new so-called special driving mode is added, which was developed specifically for track driving, which adjusts the dampers, steering and throttle response. All of this performance does come at a cost though. At more than £48,000, this is one very expensive Golf, particularly when the standard R is very nearly as quick for £5 less.
We suspect, though, that Volkswagen won't have much trouble finding buyers, though. With fast Golf enthusiasts all around the world, it will be a must-have for collectors. With values of Mark IV R32s rising, the R20 years is a fitting reminder of the car that saved the VW hot hatch.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we check out the all-new smart car. Don't miss it.